world surrounded by franchises, reboots, and shared universes. An elite team of podcasters will risk body and soul to investigate the depths of intellectual properties, one multiverse, subgenre, and trend at a time. Who are we? We're the IP Squad. Welcome back to the IP Squad and our ongoing investigation into live-action video game adaptations. I'm John Campbell. As we're saying, we have a rolling group of contributors to this. So we have two experts on this, two of our top-tier investigators. Elliott Lewis is back with us.
Hey, yo.
And Mike Gorgone's here.
You weak, pathetic fools. I've come for your souls.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, it's me.
Yes, boy, if that didn't tell you what we're talking about. Boy, folks, it sure is 1996, is it not?
1995.
Oh,
1995.
1995.
Importantly.
Never mind. It's importantly 1995.
Because
yeah.
the tie-in VHS animated film, animated short, Mortal Kombat: The Journey Begins,
Yes.
comes out before this in August of 1995. So
There you go.
And the tape, the console, or not the console, the cabinet for Mortal Kombat 3, importantly, has just released in 1995.
Yeah.
So the stinger at the end of this movie that says you can find Mortal Kombat 3 now in arcades wouldn't have been relevant otherwise.
it wouldn't have been relevant.
That's the thing about this. It is very key to talk about where this Mortal Kombat movie is coming.
Multimedia.
Oh yeah, this is definitely the case with that. And actually that was the case as well with the unlike the Super Mario Bros. Movie that we started this season with. Both Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat were very much tied into like, wait, we can hit this on every level. We can make this work for us.
It was probably easier to do that considering this is and Street Fighter to maybe a lesser extent, but these movies are a little bit more faithful, I guess is maybe the right word to
this one in particular.
What goes on in the actual game is more like visually consistent.
I think Street Fighter to a lesser extent than this, but certainly infinitely more than Super Mario Bros. This one is almost like faithful to a fault in places, at least in terms of even though this movie was successful. I gotta say, one of the big things starting this movie yesterday, and I've seen this movie a handful of times, and it had been a while, is just how much this movie, boy, if you don't know what anything's going on, good luck.
Look, John, I've seen this movie a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably could have done this episode like without having watched.
I'm not.
the movie,
But
I did anyway.
So,
yeah.
I watched this movie repeatedly the way it was meant to be watched, which is as a bootleg VHS.
As director Paul W.S. Anderson intended.
Yes.
If you think that there are strange cuts in this movie because you didn't hit the record button on your VHS recorder at the correct times during a cable presentation of it, you would be forgiven for thinking that that is how this movie presents itself.
Yeah. The thing about this movie, and I don't know how much you guys looked into the production of this film, but I think
I did a bit.
Yeah, and I think then you might know that some of that might be because this is a movie that they test screened and then went back and shot a bunch more stuff. So there's a bunch of stuff that is just jammed into this movie that I think is creating some of the feeling you're talking about, Gorgone, where they're like,
and
we need more fighting.
Not only that, but it was also Paul W.S. Anderson's like first
studio movie. Yeah, he had made one
first studio movie, but also like he kind of dove right into a fighting, like a martial arts movie.
He's
and
coming.
did not know how to shoot that.
Yeah, he hadn't even killed 2 other directors to get his W and S yet. He was just Paul Anderson.
He was still just Paul Anderson at this point.
Yeah, he had, because he's. It's so interesting that in the reading about the production of this that they bandied a lot of people about. I don't know how they landed on him for this, because he had made a tiny little British crime movie called Shopping with a baby Jude Law. If you look at the photos from it, just like freshly born Jude Law. No, yeah, but it's
hatched from the cocoon, Jude Law.
I mean, it really is like.
Finally let him out.
Because I was looking at that, because I was like, what had he done before this? And I'd never heard of this movie. And then looking at it, I thought I knew young Jude Law, but apparently he started even younger than I thought. Anyway, it's very interesting because I don't know what about that movie made the producers go, yeah, this guy could. Other than cheap.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Well, yeah.
He's young and hungry for something, so
We need to ship somebody to an island in the middle of the.
But
South
what's so
Pacific.
interesting is that this, of course, totally veers his career in this direction.
Yeah, and it was interesting to read. I was kind of reading between the lines a little bit on this one, but I was reading about how Christopher Lambert really kind of smoothed things as much as he could for Paul Anderson, and even went to Thailand, even though he didn't actually have to go to Thailand.
Yeah. I saw Anderson
I'm
talking about that.
I'm kind of wondering if maybe the studio thought that they could kind of make Paul Anderson do what they wanted. It would be easier to get him to do what they wanted because he was so green.
We talked about that with in the previous season you were on, Gorgone, with Alien 3, when they hired David Fincher, who had made no feature films, and then they proceeded to just push that guy around like nobody's business. And
they didn't realize that
was
David
Alien
Fincher
3.
was in fact David Fincher.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
In fact,
they did not know with whomst they dealt.
Similar to this, although more after the fact, we talked about on that was Sigourney Weaver going, do not blame him for that. This guy's a genius. You should give him something else. And when they did, he made 7. So, when they actually let him make something, he made a masterpiece. It's all right. But yeah, I was.
It's okay.
The canonical serial killer movie.
Yeah, I know it is. Yeah, basically every serial killer film after it is ripping off 7. If it's not 7, it's Silence of the Lambs. That's basically it. They're all just in. Anyway, but I was heartened to read that apparently, Lambert really was standing up for him and being like, I'm not going to let anyone push this guy around. I'm going to help this guy where he doesn't know what he's doing, because at this point, and I remember when this came out, Lambert's the name in this movie.
Oh yeah.
So, are you saying that Paul Anderson is the Liu Kang to Lambert's Raiden?
Yes, I am.
Sorry.
And I gotta say, Lambert is so key to the success of this movie, I think, in terms of he is just such a wild card that really, because everybody else has to play things very earnestly. And, except for Johnny Cage by design, right?
Yeah, but that's the point. Yeah,
right, yeah.
He is playing being not earnestly.
He's the Han Solo of it, right? He's the guy who's like, hey man, this is crazy. You always need a guy
shooting ice and another guy shooting spears. What the hell's happening?
But the way Lambert is the mentor figure, but also just sort of floats above the movie,
just hanging out
and just is
doing nothing.
It is such a like all of his performance. He is so committed and so weird, and every choice he makes is a choice, but you're like, wow, I would not have read that line that way.
No, he's playing the Thunder God Raiden from the video game Mortal Kombat, like Puck from A Midsummer Night's Dream.
It's so true. God, I would kill to see Christopher Lambert as Puck.
It's one of the reasons I love him. He just is I never saw that. I've never seen that guy. He's still alive and still acting. I was thrilled when I saw him in Hail Caesar, the Coen Brothers. I was like, holy shit, Christopher Lambert. But everything he did was like this, where it's like, I'm not going to say he's the world's greatest actor, but that dude never didn't commit into all the insane Highlander sequels. He's just in, and he's such a unique presence.
I think that's what it is. I mean, clearly he's not like winning awards. Awards are the award
Right.
things are all bullshit anyway. But like,
Yeah.
you know, not getting a ton of recognition outside of like kind of culty.
Yeah, we're genre
Film.
fans, so we love him, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, of course.
But
Totally.
but that is truly the thing, is that he is so like truly unique
Yeah.
and so like interesting as an actor that it is compelling. It makes no damn sense. It compels me though.
It really
It's
is.
strangely compelling.
I mean, because I had already seen Highlander by the time this came out, and I was just like, this guy is unlike. I remember seeing that movie, just going like, I mean, I believed him as an immortal because I'm like, that is not a person I recognize as existing. It's the one thing I'm at least as of the recording of this, it's supposedly happening. They keep always talking about remaking Highlander, and as much as I love Henry Cavill, I'm just like, he'll be like badass, but he won't be as otherworldly as Lambert because no one is. And that also works for Raiden. It's the same thing here where you're like, that guy is not from a world I understand.
And so it's a little bit forgivable when he's the tip of the spear of white guys playing Asian guys in this movie.
This movie,
Yeah.
this movie, I'm not going to say it doesn't come out in the wash because that's not acceptable, obviously. But it is interesting that this movie does both, right? It's like, okay, these are the people we have to commit to being Asian characters, but we're gonna whitewash some stuff. It's like we're in a weird transitional period in Hollywood, right? Where they're like, we're okay with a little bit of diversity right now.
And like the ninja characters whose masks never come off, like you can understand how they would think they could get away with it,
Yeah.
even though in like later iterations of Mortal Kombat, I'm sure later in the season you'll be talking about the 2021 movie,
Of course.
where they like go so hard on like, no, actually there's this ancient feud between this Chinese clan of assassins and this Japanese clan of
The
assassins.
2021 movie,
Scorpion
the
and Sub-Zero.
2021 movie has so many advantages over this movie just by being a movie from 2021, you know, and having a major studio budget, but also having a lot more lore from the games to pull from, right?
I mean, I don't know. We've already gone through the first two Mortal Kombat games. The third one had just come out. There was already a side-scrolling platformer that was the Sub-Zero.
The Sub-Zero,
game
yeah.
itself. That's sort of like put all of this lore to paper.
It's there, but let me say though, you have, you know, another almost 20 years of comic books, games that are, because I think what did Mortal Kombat 10 already come out, or Mortal Kombat X had already come out by the time you get to 2021.
Yes.
That definitely.
Yes, in fact, that might have been 11 at that point. I'm not sure.
It might have been, but I'm saying that the games that were, because of their more modern games, were able to give you more of a blueprint of what a Mortal Kombat movie might look like. I mean, it really is insane to think about. We talked about this with
Mortal Kombat 11 was 2019.
Okay, yeah. And those really changed the games, right? Like in terms of just like the depth of which those characters. Because the thing that's crazy about these,
that kind of started with what was it? Deception. They stopped giving them numbers at a certain point.
Yeah,
it's
like
true.
5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 all don't have numbers.
Which one was Armageddon?
Armageddon was, let's see, I have to count this out. 4.
That's fair.
5.
Yeah, that's the problem with not
6.
giving them numbers.
That one was 8. Was
Okay.
Oh,
Armageddon.
okay.
And then there
That was
the
the one I played most of.
Yeah.
2011 had the reboot that was just called Mortal Kombat. That's
Yes.
technically 9.
Yeah.
And the one after that is Mortal Kombat X.
So 9 is the one where I remember distinctly being like, "Hey, whoa, this is actually like a pretty decent story."
That started with like I want to say 6 Mortal Kombat Deception.
Yeah. But like, and then I also subsequently, like when Mortal Kombat X came out, there was a tie-in comic that was really good, and then eventually they start making the animated movies that are really good, and so it's just it's a thing where we talk about the thing about the video game movies at this time is they are basing things off of an aesthetic, and basically like the book that came with the game is kind of all they have in terms of lore.
Yeah.
So you are adapting basically a pamphlet, and you know. It's really fun.
And all things considered, I think that makes this a pretty good movie.
Well,
like a pretty good Mortal Kombat movie.
I think the thing,
like
of the 3 we've done, so this is the 3rd movie we've done this season. I think the thing this one does is it's the first one that doesn't overthink it. It doesn't go much beyond being a pamphlet from a video game. And I think that's
John, are you
fair.
saying Super Mario Bros. Overthought it?
Oh my God. I mean, here's the thing is, oh my God, the amount of... they really overthought it. But even Street Fighter, where they're like, okay, we've got to somehow like ground this in like a military action movie, and you're just like, really? Okay. This movie, one of the things I understand why my poor father who took me to this movie being like, what the fuck is happening? But because the way this movie, like when Kano is introduced and he just has a robot eye.
The thing that this movie is missing that would have made it much more palatable to movie-going audiences was in between scenes having a character in stage select.
Yeah. Well, I think it
made everything make way more sense.
I think it's something the 2021 movie actually does kind of pull off to some extent. Everything is like you follow everything a little bit more into like, okay, here's this, it's normal, we're bringing powers in, it kind of in the way like a superhero movie does, right, where it's like we're slow rolling. This movie, like I said, even before we get on ship to magic world where we're going to have an otherworldly fighting tournament, listen, there's already a guy with a robot. The introduction of Kano, like I said, because like the Kano of the 2021 movie starts a normal guy and then he gets fucked up. Same thing with Jax and stuff like that, right? You start with these things and then here though they're just like, oh no, this is a world where already Sonya Blade is hunting a criminal who has a robot eye, and that's what's fucking going on. Liu Kang is, I mean, the movie opens with Liu Kang having a vision of his brother being murdered, you know, like...
This movie opening with Cary Hiroyuki Tagawa saying, your soul is mine.
By the way,
sets a tone.
Second to Lambert, my favorite performance in the movie as well. I think he is also equally committed to just, man... That guy is Shang Tsung. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it is really interesting how so many things from this movie became canon in the games. Like, I mean, we talk about Kano, like he was I think supposed to be also at least half Asian, and then Drew Goddard just put so much into this performance that they were like, well, I mean, it's okay, he's Australian, I guess.
He's an Australian, and he's an Australian guy in the 2021 movie as well. It's crazy to me. Yeah, it is. Trevor Goddard, by the way.
Trevor Goddard.
Yeah, Drew Goddard, the screenwriter. Just want to stop the emails.
Why do they have the same names? That's the thing.
I know we've got to stop that.
People.
Yes.
Can I pitch you though?
People have to have
I want to.
Names
we were talking. Well, we were talking about the Lambert's rating.
600 mics. It kills me.
I mean, that's fair.
There's a reason. There's a reason we call him Gorgone and then Listman because we knew like 3 other mics in high school. Now I just know the 2, but still, it was crazy.
Still too many.
Yeah. The let me pitch you though an alternate reality. I don't know if you guys read this about who the first choice for Raiden was, because they really pursued.
Who the first choice for Liu Kang was.
Okay, we'll get to that. But the first choice for Raiden, Sean Connery.
Oh yes, I did know this.
Yeah.
And he didn't do it because he wanted to play golf and thought the movie was stupid. It was something like that.
Yeah, he also felt it was too.
He's not.
Well, here's the thing about it, and I feel like that it's probably just in 1995, late 80s and early 90s. Every mentor role, I think, went out to Sean Connery, right? He was just the go-to guy. If you're making an action movie and need like because this continues even, because he was the first choice for Morpheus in The Matrix. He was the first choice for Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. It's just like, they were just like, oh, you need an older guy to be mentoring like a young action hero. Call Connery.
Look, I love Ian McKellen's Gandalf, but god damn it, I think we missed something with
it's one of those things where I want to go for a day into the alternate reality and see that movie. I don't necessarily want it to replace what exists now, but I want to see what that would have looked like. Down the
rabbit hole.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
Mr. Anderson.
and I know you're a defender of this movie, Ella, but I would say the sad thing is, having turned both of those down and them turning to hits, he's like, the next one I won't turn down, and that was League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and he never acted again.
Yep, that happened.
As he was like, this script doesn't make any sense, but those didn't, and they turned into big hits, and I should have taken them, so sure.
No.
Yeah.
Sean,
Oh,
cut
it was
your
the wrong
cut.
one, Sean. No. Damn it. I wanted my Matrix money. Anyway, crazy to think about. I also think whoever was making this movie initially was pie in the sky, because apparently first choice, if this even got to his desk, I'd be shocked. Tom Cruise as Johnny Cage. There's no way that even crossed.
It seems so obvious, right? Because
Yeah.
Johnny Cage as a character is a combination of what if Tom Cruise was also Jean-Claude Van Damme, right?
And that was who they really pursued, of course, for the part, was Van Damme, who chose to do Street Fighter instead. We can talk about whether or not that was a good decision.
Did this movie need cocaine energy?
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. He was a mess at this point, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure anything. Although I'm how do you guys feel?
Maybe Christopher Lambert could have talked him down.
How do you guys feel about Lyndon Ashby as Johnny Cage?
I am so glad we have come to the portion of the video where the podcast where we're talking about Lyndon Ashby.
Yeah.
My favorite B actor.
I've seen this guy in a million things.
Favorite is the word we're using for Lyndon
Yes.
Ashby, the guy who's a guy.
Well, I have a feeling I know.
He plays the sheriff
Yep.
in MTV's Teen Wolf.
That's what I
And
was waiting
actually-
for.
I see now. Okay.
A sneak peek for the Teen Wolf presentation I'm going to give
Oh,
to
yeah.
John and Brendan when we get to the Teen Wolf movie,
Yeah.
because they haven't watched the show. I have to catch them up.
Right? Yeah. Obviously.
They're supposed to enjoy the movie.
How else are they supposed to enjoy the movie? if
Brendan,
they don't know
by the
everything
way,
about
Brendan
Teen
is
Wolf?
still trying to take that off the list. I'm like, no, it's the whole thing.
It's werewolves.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
No, yeah, he's like, damn it, but we didn't watch the show. Well, all right.
I know. I've already 5 steps ahead of him.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's bonus
And actually,
content.
in season 3 of Teen Wolf, they do an homage to Johnny Cage's entrance.
Really?
Like opening scene in this.
Interesting, because I will say the way he's introduced in
It
one of
has
the
to be. No one's ever confirmed it, but I've looked at this. I've seen. As soon as it was happening, I was like,
well,
"This is 100%
I would
an homage because
imagine.
Lyndon Ashby played Johnny Cage."
Yeah, because then the way he's introduced to this movie is so memorable, of course, and it's a
It's
classic.
so iconic. It's so iconic.
It's a classic movie fake out, right? Where it's like, oh wait, it's a movie.
Where do you get these guys?
By the way,
Not Steven Spielberg on the little gantry.
are you aware though? It really almost was Steven Spielberg.
It was almost Steven Spielberg.
I mean,
that's
he
why
was
they-
going to do it, but couldn't do this because he's a huge gamer and in particular a Mortal Kombat fan.
94. What was he doing?
Well, he's coming off of the double Oscar win.
He just
Yeah.
came off of Schindler's List and Jurassic Park.
Same year, and so he just had like the biggest year ever in his career. But he was, I mean, but that would have been crazy. I did think, I didn't know that initially, but when I saw it, I am just like, oh right, this was an era when just director meant Steven Spielberg. Even if it's not Spielberg, a director has to look like Spielberg. That's just what directors look like.
The idea of Spielberg
Directing
being the
like-
go-to director for a schlocky B action movie.
You're like Spielberg's directing like Kickboxer, right? Like, yeah, what are you talking about? It's insane. It would have been so wild if that was Spielberg.
Spielberg turns to the camera. Do you know about the Kumite?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Steven Spielberg's Bloodsport. Well, he has talked about that he's in the later section of his career that he's like, I'm checking off the genres I haven't done yet. Martial arts movie, Steven? I'm just saying, you haven't done it.
Lucky B picture. Yeah, do it.
I would love it. I would love to see it. Okay,
He can
sorry.
pull it off.
Back to Lyndon Ashby specifically as Johnny Cage.
I think he's great.
Go off, King.
I'm not
Like,
biased, but
I got nothing to say. He is just like dude in a dude form.
I
in this
think
movie.
he is clearly no one's first choice, is what I will say about my take. I don't think he's terrible, but I think this part needed more of an... I don't believe him as a movie star. I'm sorry. He's not a bad
that's the
actor,
issue.
but I'm just like, he doesn't have... I'm so excited for, as we're recording this, it hasn't come out yet, the new Mortal Kombat. Carl Urban as Johnny Cage makes so much sense to me. And Lyndon
I'm just
Ashby, I
saying
find
Lyndon Ashby-
he is very B movie.
he's got 102 episodes of The Young and the Restless under his belt.
Yeah.
And
It
that makes all the sense in the world if you look at the guy's face.
I mean, and
Yes.
I remember him on Melrose Place. Yeah, he's fine.
He's a handsome guy, and I think he has great comedic timing.
I think there are moments where his comedic timing is good, and other
I
parts.
like it when he punches Goro in the balls. That was
That's
fun.
pretty good.
That was. I love it. That was a Lyndon and as I'm sure you also know from reading about some of the production on this, Elliot, they had no script on this movie. Almost everything is improvised. They really didn't have anything. So I will say a lot of the lines came from Lyndon Ashby. So he
$500 sunglasses.
You got it.
Asshole.
Yeah, you got it. That's credited to Ashby.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him.
I do think I will say,
cannot help but stand.
of the trio, he's not my least favorite, because I think the real Brigitte Wilson, I think, is, and some of that is how it's written, to be fair.
Yeah, she doesn't get a great.
It's not a great part, and she's not bringing a
no.
ton to it, so it's just kind of a combination of, she was,
So
yeah.
the Brigitte Wilson of it all, maybe we can start getting into the plot of the movie a little bit here, because we have three,
Yeah.
like,
We have essentially
Save world.
three protagonists, right?
Do fight, save world.
Yeah.
do fight, save world, but the three, like, emotional arcs of the film are around our three protagonists: Liu Kang, Johnny Cage, Sonya Blade, right? That's like the common good guy trio of
And I gotta say, though,
except when Liu Kang goes evil and becomes king of the underworld and then sort of takes and rewrites time, and that's why we have a second timeline in the Mortal Kombat universe. Anyway, it's complicated.
Let's just
Liu Kang did a time oopsie. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
But anyway,
Totally fine.
Liu Kang and Sonya's arcs are: I want revenge for the guy who killed my insert emotional support brother / partner here.
Right.
And Johnny Cage's whole thing is: I want people to take me seriously, so I'm
Okay.
going to punch a four-armed guy in the balls.
Here's the thing about the Johnny Cage arc. It makes no sense. The idea that it's
And it doesn't really have any payoff. Like
no, because it can't. Here's the thing. His whole thing is he's been dubbed, which I find this hilarious. He's been dubbed a fake. Well, what does that mean? He's an actor.
I think it's the implication
That
is
he doesn't really know
do his own stunts,
martial arts,
like,
right,
That
yeah.
he doesn't know martial arts and all that stuff.
So he's going to go to a secret underground fighting that no one will see.
Except for that old guy in the chair who's clearly supposed to be
Martial arts,
martial
like,
arts
mentor?
instructor or mentor.
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
something.
that's
Oh, I thought it was dollar store Chris Christopherson, but
I did too. Weirdly enough.
Yeah, Peter Jason is that actor. He's in a billion things. He's just one of those faces.
Chris Christopherson, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
no, yeah. I mean, it's just like, if you need someone to be, a lot of his parts are like general, major, senator.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
I'm an authority figure.
But anyway, he tells Johnny at the beginning of the movie, hey, if you do this, everyone will know. We find out like immediately that that's just Shang Tsung as a shapeshifter.
Right.
But
So yeah,
he doesn't even get off set.
I gotta
before
say,
he transforms back.
It's really, it is just really funny though how much these characters roll with every revelation. That there
I
are
love
powers.
the charm of this
that
movie
this is
to
a
me.
fight to the death, and there's like, oh, all right, well, okay.
Four-armed guy, and they're all just like, shit is crazy, but I'm
Well-
gonna deal.
I mean, Liu Kang has some understanding of this, so he makes some level of sense
Anyway,
to me, right? But yeah,
Back to my point.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, Liu Kang is out for revenge against specifically Shang Tsung, the bad guy of our film.
that's how the movie starts,
Sonya.
right? So that we are immediately. I mean, Liu Kang, I think, has we're maybe most invested in as an audience, just because we start with him. It sort of feels like he has the classic martial arts hero arc.
Yeah, and we start out with like, oh, he was some kind of chosen one, but turned his back on his like family, and that's kind of why his brother got killed. Like, there's some good martial arts bones to that.
And I think Robin Shao or Robin Sho, I think is how it's pronounced, or Robin
I think
Shu,
it's show.
Shao.
Maybe.
I apologize if but yeah. Anyway, I think he's fine in this. I think he's exactly what you need. He's no more stiff than any earnest martial arts hero in movies. And I think he's one of the only people who actually knows martial arts in this movie. So that helps.
Sonya's revenge arc is against Kano, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
The climax for her story happens at minute 42. I clocked it.
The death of Kano is so unceremonious for being this big built-up villain. It's insane.
So part of the problem with Brigitte Wilson's performance here is that she's given literally nothing else to do for the rest of the movie other than be girl who gets kidnapped.
It is a
super
huge bummer when that happens. A huge
By the end of the
bummer.
movie, they got her looking like caveman Wonder Woman, and it's not great.
Also, another thing in mild defense of Brigitte Wilson, or simply to explain, she was an absolute last-minute casting in this, because this was supposed to be Cameron Diaz.
It was supposed to be Cameron Diaz, and she broke her wrist like almost immediately.
Yeah, and so
Which is wild when you read that apparently Brigitte Wilson did all of her own stunts on this movie and dislocated her shoulder.
Yeah.
But
also was training and filming at the same time. There was she's just being thrown into it, which is,
we call that an Iron Fist scenario.
It's a real unfortunate thing, and I think so. I mean, I'm not saying she's the world's greatest actress to begin with, but she had no time to prep for this. She was coming right off of Billy Madison, which is mainly what I know her from, and also being the wife of tennis legend Pete Sampras. Because she's now Brigitte Wilson Sampras.
Okay.
Yeah.
But she also didn't really get a lot to do, and her emotional arc ended pretty quickly when she snapped a guy's neck with her calves.
Yeah.
Which, look, if you gotta go out.
Hey, hell of a way to go out.
It is. And she gets a cool one-liner about, like, can we take a break? Oh, you want a break? Snap.
Done.
Yeah. All right. Pretty cool. She pulls She pulls a Xenia on a top from GoldenEye on him.
Sure.
Yep. Always bring it back to Bond.
Like, if that's supposed to be the, like, catharsis of her arc, and it just happens with a quippy one-liner, and then
it's like halfway through the movie.
Around.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say,
and so her big emotional scene is for a guy whose name we barely know who gets jobbed by Goro.
Yeah. Well, how about the total randomness of the Johnny Cage Scorpion fight?
Right.
Oh,
it's
when he just hard cut to him in woods?
Yeah.
That was my note. It's like my note is she snaps a guy's neck with her calves. Meanwhile, Johnny Cage is just standing in the woods.
Again, we needed a screen selecting characters and the stage, and we would have transitioned.
Would you like to know more?
Well, I gotta say, one of the craziest things about this, because I love a fighting tournament movie. I think it's maybe the best setup for a martial arts movie, because I always talk about it's the one thing where you're like, especially if you're doing something modern day, you've got to explain, why is everyone fighting each other with martial arts all the time? And something like a blood sport, a kumite, makes so much sense. While this movie sets up that this is a giant fighting competition, it also just doesn't care about that either. Like, there's not a lot of sense of, here's the next fight in the tournament, here's who's advancing. The Johnny Cage Scorpion fight just happens.
It just
and
happens.
Sometimes you'll have fights where it's like, well, is it like a fight to the death always? Because the Katana Liu Kang fight, they just stop for no reason.
Yeah.
For no reason, and nothing happens. Nothing comes of it.
There is no sense of progression through this competition at all. It's really funny how much the movie's like, you just want to see him fight. You don't care.
Well, it is until, like, Shang Tsung was like, look, we've got 40 minutes left in the movie. Goro, kill 20 people immediately.
Okay, we have to talk about Goro. I'm so glad you brought up Goro, because so much of Goro's screen time in this movie is based around the fact that they could not get this fucking animatronic to work.
Oh my god, it was so... They had at least 13 people had to operate it at any given time.
And it was constantly breaking down. That's why it's so often...
Is it a full-sized animatronic?
Yeah.
Like Ninja Turtle style?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
It's pretty cool.
I wasn't sure if they did some, like, illusions with, like, miniatures or not.
No, I think it's mostly a full-size... I mean, there may be parts where it's a miniature.
Maybe.
But most of it...
I think the wide shot in his fight with Johnny Cage, I think that's CG.
There's a little bit of CG Goro in there. I mean... Although it looks
because it's a wide shot and they're so small, like
it looks less.
Really
I mean,
looking...
talk about looking CG-ish. Oh boy, this movie. yeah, we're not there yet, sort of a thing with this. But the thing with Goro is you'll notice he's very rarely in shots with other people. It is a close up of somebody, and then it cuts to Goro because they basically had to shoot all the Goro stuff back in LA on a soundstage to get this thing to move at all.
Yeah, they could not bring it to Thailand. I was reading they were even going to have like water features or something in some of those scenes, and they were like, no, if this thing falls in water, we're done ski.
Yeah, it is really funny. It's just like, you guys, we can't, like, just the amount of times I'm sure they were like, can you do this? And the puppeteers are like, no,
Absolutely
Lord, no,
not.
are you kidding me? And they also had a guy where was the thing here? I had this thing too about, for some of the shots they tried putting a guy in a suit, but he couldn't breathe.
Yeah, because his head would have been in the torso encased in plastic.
That was the thing. It's like, well, we can use him, but only for like 30 seconds at a time or something like that. You're just like, this thing was a disaster. I will say though, it actually doesn't look that bad. I mean, there are places where it looks pretty cool.
For 1995, like animatronic, again, I akin this to like Ninja Turtles movie animatronics.
Yeah.
I think, like, obviously the lip flaps aren't quite there in terms of like his mouth moving.
Because you don't
words.
have the Henson company that made the Turtles ones, which are still incredible, really. That first Turtles movie is a masterpiece.
You have sequences where like all four arms are grabbing guys, and it's pretty good.
Yeah. But like I said, there's just a lot of like that scene of the Goro just throwing guys off camera that we don't even see is such an example of like, that was not how that was meant to go, I don't think.
No.
I did count. It is exactly 20 dudes that get thrown onto screen onto the ground.
And it's just different grounds on a guy. And you're just like, oh man, Goro's really fucking dudes up. Yeah.
Goro in the background going,
yeah. I do love the story that Paul W.S. Anderson had no experience in visual effects, so he just bought a bunch of books. I love that. It's such a nerd thing where he's like, I'm going to read everything I can about visual effects. He said, just so I can talk to these guys. I need to know their jargon.
Hey, that is more as a like, a director is very much a project manager. As a project manager, that is a lot farther than a lot of project managers and bosses go. So I commend him.
Here's the thing, and I give Paul W.S. Anderson a lot of shit because
yes,
it's easy.
That's
it's
fair.
easy
it's
to do, but I will say I think, because I always thought he is the most successful director of movies no one sees. It's incredible, especially like the second half of his career is insane. I don't think anyone goes to his movies yet. He keeps making them. But clearly,
I think I read somewhere because he puts the money up to do it.
I think the other thing is, I think you're right. I think he's a good manager. I think people like working with him. I think he gets the job done. He doesn't cause trouble. And that will actually get you really far in Hollywood.
And look, if he wants to pay for nice fancy vacations for he and his wife to go filming in tropical locations,
there is the distinct.
Men have done worse.
There's the distinct point in his. There's the part where he meets and marries Mila Jovovich, changes his whole career, obviously. And yes, he's currently working on a reboot of House of the Dead right now. Because
starring.
They haven't announced a cast, but I have some ideas about who might be in it.
We know at least one person who will be in it.
But like and
hey, it'll probably be. I'll give Paul W.S. Anderson this. His House of the Dead movie will at least be better than Uwe Boll's. Probably.
No doubt. I mean, the guy is an infinitely better director than Uwe Boll. I will say I do kind of mourn.
Cat's a better director than
yeah,
Uwe
it's
Boll.
true. There's a reason we're not covering him this season. It's just not worth it. The thing about him, though, is I do kind of mourn the loss of the guy who made Event Horizon.
Every day.
Like I'm maybe the lone defender of this movie, but I really like his movie Soldier with Kurt Russell.
I don't think I've seen that.
It's kind of like Halo before Halo, where Kurt Russell's like raised from a child to be a perfect space warrior, and then turns on the evil government. It's pretty fun, but I'm just saying, like, there was a brief point when he wasn't just the guy who made video game adaptations with his wife.
Hey. He also made a
Death Race.
remake.
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
I actually don't mind that remake either. Mostly for Statham.
And that wild Pompeii movie with Jon Snow figuring out he can't be an action star.
Yeah,
Forgot about that.
He also did
Wow.
the Three Musketeers 3D with his wife.
With yeah,
Of course.
Yeah, and then he just put out a movie that doesn't exist called In the Lost Lands. Is that what it is? Yeah,
Starring
his wife and Dave
yeah.
Bautista. Based on
he's a wife guy. We can't like.
I mean,
listen.
look. No question about that. I respect him for that. I'm sure he's a perfectly nice dude. I just, it's always just a thing. It's just so interesting. Like I said, he does this, and then aside from a couple of other things, this basically becomes what he does the rest of his career.
Hold on. In the Lost Lands kind of sounds like it rules.
No,
Queen sends the powerful and feared sorceress Grey Alice to the ghostly wilderness of the Lost Lands in search of magical powers, where the sorceress and her guide, played by David Bautista, must outwit and outfight man and demon alike.
In the Lost Lands is such a Mike Gorgone movie. It's based on like an obscure short story that George R.R. Martin never finished or something. It's some like
poster.
Yeah, I know.
Poster is Mila Jovovich wielding sickles in a witch outfit, while Cowboy Dave Bautista
has got the six guns. Yeah. No, I was like, it's Gorgone's favorite movie. We'll be talking more Paul W.S. Anderson this season. Don't worry. While we're not covering his Resident Evil movies, because once again, that's its own thing, and at some point we'll do a season about that probably. We will be talking about his Monster Hunter movie. Later on, which Gorgone, you're already on for that, so don't worry.
Am I?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's another one where people are like, you got to get Gorgone. I think he's the only person who knows anything about those games of the people we know.
Excuse me, a certain Michael Listman is way more Monster Hunter pilled than me.
Oh, Michael Listman is hiding information from me then.
Probably because he doesn't want to do that movie.
Yeah, I think he kept quiet about that because I think he was like, yeah, I think Mike knows a lot about those. Yeah.
In the back.
Anyway,
Other Mike, actually.
Anyway, back to this movie. Yeah, so like we said, they all. I mean, this movie does have one of my favorite action movie things, which is in the introduction of Sonya Blade, which is a dance party that's so rad even gunfire doesn't stop it.
Right? It really tells you a lot about the universe that this movie exists in.
Yeah.
The fact that she is like shotgun whipping just random rave
people
goers.
out of the way, and and people are just like,
yeah,
shit.
Okay, whatever, man. You got to get through, lady. I got to get back to boogieing.
And then she like shotgun blasts a random thug from the hip.
Yeah.
And everyone at the party is like, well, music's still playing. We're still dancing.
And then like...
That was a great part of this EDM track.
Yeah. Oh, wow. It sounded like a shotgun blast.
That must have been the drop.
Can I talk? Yeah. I also love... This is that thing about, once again, it's just so you know. Very quickly, she's like, yes, it's me, Agent Sonya Blade. Isn't that right, Jax? We're characters from the game. By the way, not cool with the Jax erasure in this movie.
Right, that was disappointing.
Jax has the War Machine moment, like, and I'll be in there next one.
And I know he is in Annihilation. So, but instead, it's a real sad thing where it's like, he will be swapped out for a random black guy who will die.
Immediately.
Would you rather have Jax go to the island as well, only to get jobbed by Goro?
Well, no, but I wish he would get his arms torn off and get cool metal ones.
It would have been more of an emotional beat if it hadn't just been some random guy that they talked to once.
Yeah, because Sonya Blade is still like, no, not that guy, whose name I don't even remember. What is his name?
That character's name is Art Lean.
Yeah.
Even his name is nothing. Art Lean. That's not a character from any of the games as far as I know.
No, he was created for this film.
To die.
Which is why, again, it's like...
Yeah. Is it even... do they bring the guy back? Do they bring the... It's not even... I don't think it's the same guy playing Jax in sequel. Yeah.
Annihilation? No.
I mean, we'll talk about... A lot of the cast doesn't... A huge chunk of the cast doesn't come
There
out.
are only two returning actors to Annihilation, and it is the guy who plays Liu Kang and the woman who plays Katana.
Oh, can I also pitch you another crazy world? One of the people considered for Katana... Mariska Hargitay.
Ooh.
We almost had
look,
Captain Benson in this movie.
I have seen the photos of
her
Mariska
and
Hargitay on the set of the Power
Rangers.
Film. I can believe it.
Yeah.
That's a huge missed opportunity.
Listeners, if you have not seen the photos of Mariska Hargitay playing a wild space ninja sorceress in the
that
Power
character's
Rangers
name
movie.
is in my head somewhere, and I'm trying to access it. Yeah. Because that was one of those weird things where it's like, that woman shot it, then they need to reshoot it, so they brought in Mariska Hargitay, and then they reshot it again with the first woman back. It's like a crazy thing where they kept reshooting those scenes and just switching actors. It's so wild. Yeah. Katana doesn't do much in this movie.
No, she says a cryptic thing and then...
And I will say,
a couple more cryptic things. She says a bunch of cryptic stuff.
She's played by Talisa Soto, and yes, that leads me to my favorite part of any show. Welcome to 007 Corner, because Talisa Soto was a Bond girl in License to Kill with Timothy Dalton.
I see.
Yeah. And she was also... Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, we were talking about the kind of differing levels of martial arts prowess and fighting prowess in this, and it seems that she maybe had the least. So I think that's maybe part of why her fight with Liu Kang didn't really go anywhere.
Yeah, it does. It's just like, okay. We talked about her also, if you're a Meet the Monsters listener. We talked about her when she played Vampirella.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
In a dirt cheap...
I'm sure that was done
Vampirella
tastefully and with tact.
Well, it was made for about 10 cents, so that really helps. Yeah. With also rock legend Roger Daltrey playing the villain and having a great time, I will say.
Wait, oh boy.
Yeah, it's a wild movie.
I did not know that.
And then just to finish the Law and Order thing, she is also currently married to Benjamin Bratt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They've been married for a while.
It all comes around.
It all comes back around to Law and Order. Yeah.
We did not mention that, the role of Liu Kang, at least according to the IMDb trivia that I was reading, originally was meant for Brandon Lee.
Brandon Lee, yeah.
Oh.
And this movie was made like right on the heels of his like tragic demise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the death of Brandon Lee is such a tragedy for so many reasons, and one of them was like, that guy was absolutely about to become the next big thing in action. No question. And if you see The Crow, you're like, oh, yeah, that would have made him an A-list movie star. Anyway.
And so, like,
and he actually,
as Liu Kang,
he would have been amazing. He would have changed
the tone of this movie and put a charisma at the center of it.
Because, like I said,
I think isn't there at the moment.
I think this guy does really well because especially with the physicality, and he's got enough. He brings enough to it that you're compelled by the character. But yes, Brandon Lee would have taken it, I think, to that next level because he really had some charm. Incredible.
Imagine Brandon Lee and Lambert in a scene together.
Yeah,
oh
I know it would have been something because it really does fall to Lambert to carry, at least a lot of the character, the like interesting character bits. You know, Johnny Cage is snarky, but
on the hero side, like
yes.
I will.
Yes,
like,
on the hero side.
As much as I love Lyndon Ashby, like the hero side does not really have a ton of strong.
Right, because you have like the guy playing Kano. You have Goro. Yeah, everybody's
voice acting
Kevin Michael Richards.
One
of the best.
Legend in voice acting.
One of the best.
Amazing.
Yeah. And still plays Goro to this day in the video games.
Mm-hmm.
Because
has he played every iteration of Goro?
I think he has.
I believe so.
Or pretty damn close to.
I was looking at his IMDb earlier, and there's a lot of Goro on it.
Yeah, I think it's in the trivia here that like he's always the voice of Goro, because he just is. We should also shout out to the great Frank Welker who does a few voices in this movie.
Yeah, the Emperor and
Reptile.
Reptile. I'm like, Chameleon is not it. That's different.
Yeah. Reptile has sounds. That's a Frank Welker thing.
Yeah. Frank Welker is known for his ability to be like any animal.
To just make noises.
He's incredible. Can I talk about the fact though that one of the things that bums me out about this movie is even though they're in it, like Scorpion and Sub-Zero are kind of non-entities beyond just their physical presence and use of powers, which is
it would have, yeah, it would have been, well, okay, so here we get into, I think, the what's the word I'm looking for? The kind of limitations that this film ran into, being that it is a Mortal Kombat movie, but we are on the heels,
step number
barely
one, yeah,
on the heels of, like, the Ninja Turtles can't have, like, weapons in posters because it's too violent, and this movie had to be PG-13.
I mean, that
a PG-13.
Actually, I can't believe it took us this long to get there. But that is one of the, it was, of course, at the time and to this day still the big complaint from the hardcore fans of the games is these games were famous for, controversial for, which is very funny. I always thought it was funny, the controversy, because the gore is so extreme that it has no basis in reality. I hate to break it to you. You really can't tear someone's spine out. You just can't.
John, are you saying if someone's head is chopped off, a fountain of blood does not squirt up vis-a Kill Bill?
I was going to say, Quentin Tarantino would disagree, but yeah, it's...
It's about the vibes.
Yeah. It's about the feeling, man.
Somebody's buzzsaw hat can't chop some guy in half?
But that is a big thing, and once again, not to keep, because we'll get there when we get there, but like that was one of the big things when the 2021 movie was announced, was like, we're doing it R-rated, okay? We're gonna get it right this time. And I will say, this movie does things where it tries to have weird fatalities without being gory. You know, it has people turn to skeletons. You know, it has it does weird stuff, but none of it has any kind of real impact. It feels like it's holding back.
You don't see any blood except for the chain little creature's head when it smashes into the tree, and even that's like, you can get away with that because it's a creature.
They talked about there was a lot of
moment of blood in this movie, and that is when Shang Tsung and Liu Kang are having their fight at the end of the movie, and he gets blood on his lip like, my God, you bloodied me.
Right.
That's the only blood in the film.
Well, apparently they're
on fire or from a chain monster.
And it definitely is a distinct example. You bring up the Ninja Turtles, Elliot. It's a distinct example of, won't somebody please think of the children? It absolutely is that. The second Ninja Turtles movie that was maybe a year or two before this, they never even pull their weapon. It's one of the weirdest goddamn things. Secret of the Ooze is so weird where you're like, Leonardo, you have a sword. It's right there. Why aren't you using it?
The moment that always stands out to me so hard in that movie happens in the first big fight sequence.
I know exactly what you're going to say. Yep.
Has his nunchucks on his belt, but instead grabs 2 links of sausage
to
use as nunchucks.
As weapons.
Which I'm just like... What the hell is I just like the idea about, it's gonna be better if he hits somebody with meat as opposed to wood. What? Like, you're still smacking somebody across the face.
91.
91, okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, because that was the other thing. It was made super fast. It was like 90, 91. Within a year, they had a sequel out to that thing. And those movies get progressive. I love that first one. And then they get, by the time you get to 3, yeesh. Yeah, 3... I know it has its fans, but Jesus, it's bad. It's really bad. We'll do a Ninja Turtle season, no question about that.
Wow, Ninja Turtles 3 was 93. Like, they just cranked those out.
That thing was a strike while the iron's hot. I don't think they realized how enduring that franchise has become. And yes, people can't see me. I have a Ninja Turtles hat on.
It's true.
Yeah, I'm a massive nerd for that franchise. But I think
Next Mutation was 97. That was the next.
I was literally about to be like, and then nothing happened until Next Mutation.
Kind
which
of.
Everyone loves.
Oh, it's I mean, the highest of quality.
Like, speaking of the, like, oh, we can't use our weapons.
Oh,
that whole show is just slapstick.
The thing I didn't realize until I was watching somebody talk, it's just like that show was also shot in like a black box theater. They had no money on that thing. It was
it was like
shocking.
Basically a tokusatsu show, except not made in Japan.
Because it was still Saban. It was made by the Power Rangers people. But yeah, without now we have to film the fight scenes too. Anyway, back to this movie. I do think something else that is.
Hey, it's related. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles did become guest stars in the Mortal Kombat franchise.
Well, I think it's an interesting thing because I think this movie definitely is trying to push them in that direction, right? This is trying to be, if not all ages, like 8 to 15-year-olds or whatever, right? Like, like I said, my dad, was like, Jesus, this is horrible,
They're really banking on the fact that a 13-year-old can get dropped off at the mall and see this by themselves.
Absolutely.
Yes,
and that's
100%.
for sure what they're counting on. Apparently there was a lot of negotiation with the MPA on, can we do this but not this? Can we show this but not this? You can show Shang Tsung about to be impaled and then having been impaled, but you can't see him getting impaled. That kind of stuff, right? Where it's like, can we do this but not this? Because I think there was because the video games were in the press, everybody was side-eyeing this movie. Oh, really? Well, you better watch yourself.
Kombat?
You cannot show Goro quartering someone he would.
And it's just like, it is.
Shame.
I was gonna say, it's almost like, then what's the point of having him? There's a certain extent.
Well, they built the damn animatronic.
Yeah. Do you have any idea what a pain in the ass that thing was?
Listen, no one is immune to the sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah. I gotta say though, the most maybe memorable fight is the Johnny Cage Scorpion fight because it does feel the most like you were saying, Gorgone, like pick your fighters, pick your stage.
Well,
everything else is
out of context. It's so unremarked upon for the rest of the film. Even
nobody even says to Johnny, "Hey, how was your afternoon? We haven't seen you in hours."
Well,
oh well, you're not gonna fucking believe.
You would think he would come back
into hell. I think.
Yeah. I would just fought a dude in hell.
Away from his exploding body, I got out. I guess.
Yeah.
It was a normal fight, and then the dude took his mask off, and it was a skull, and then it breathed fire at me. I don't even know.
By the way, that is one of my favorite bits. Is every turn Scorpion makes, Cage is totally ready for it.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
No issue at all. Skeleton face, whatever. Fire breathing, already got a shield up to defend it. We're good. Johnny Cage is no fake.
The autograph photo.
Oh, that is so.
Which is
so
his
good.
finisher from Mortal Kombat 2 or 3, I want to say.
Probably 2, or maybe it was 3, and they were prepping.
Because 3 had already come out at this point.
They came out roughly the same time, right?
The cabinet had already been out for a little while.
Oh, the cabinet.
I think it was just about 3 was just about to get released for home. I need to look up the timeline specifically, but it was really close.
Because they were primarily pulling from 2. Yeah.
And Boone was pretty involved with this.
Yes.
With this production.
Ed Boone, we have not talked about actually. The voice of Scorpion himself, the titular over here guy.
I gotta say though, the way that's tossed in. It's a total ADR, and it's even kind of low in the mix. Like they're just like, well, we got to put in it. So he's just like, get over here,
get over here.
Yeah. It's not treated like a catchphrase. And I guess it's just like, shit,
for those who do not know, Ed
it.
Boone was one of the original
right,
and he also did the voice for Scorpion in that original game.
Yeah.
Sure, as well as several other characters.
Well, because also at that time you had like 10 people around, right? Like you kind of had to do that.
For a little bit of history on the Mortal Kombat, Mortal Kombat was such an interesting development where video games were concerned because they did this weird blend of full motion animation and digital effects, because they did actually cast people as the fighters to use in that original game. Like you can look at these sprites that they're moving around, but then there are also set photos of these people in full costume doing stuff.
Yeah. The thing that
obviously Ed Boone, not one of those.
No. Right. But the thing I looking at Ed Boone's IMDb, my God, what he's made. I mean, he still directs the games too, but what he's made just off of the licensing, because every time any of these characters show up, he has a created by, right?
Sure.
They pop into a DLC in Injustice, and he's getting a piece of that. I mean, it's incredible to me. Yeah, it's just all the animated stuff, all the comic books, every video game, the fucking web series. Remember Mortal Kombat Legacy?
Who was that? That wasn't Trachtenberg. That was
It's who made it?
yeah.
I
I feel like there was one of those early internet like short guys.
Oh, Kevin Tankeron?
Trackron, yeah.
Tracker, yeah. He did Mortal Kombat Rebirth and Mortal Kombat Legacy.
Yeah, there was like a short movie he made that was like proof of concept, and it was like, ooh, dark and gritty Mortal Kombat, where Baraka is a serial killer for some reason, and
right, because this is where they have Michael Jai White as Jax, who was supposed to play Jax in this, which would have been, I will say, I would have been infinitely angrier if this is Michael Jai White and they didn't have him do martial arts.
I believe in that short, isn't it? Jerry Ryan is also playing Sonya Blade.
Yeah, which is actually pretty fucking great casting. I remember that being like cool, but very limited in obviously budget. But it was at the time. It was
trying
like
to super ground it in a way that sort of removed the fantasy element of it, which is kind of the fun for me with Mortal Kombat.
Oh God,
yeah, I see. Because I was like, does Baraka need to be a serial killer? He's just like kind of a nasty
it was really
guy who
like
wants to kill.
It was very much. It was sort of the extreme of, I think, the more recent movie learned some lessons from that, where it's like, okay, we can go gritty, but when you completely ground it, it's losing a lot of its charm.
Like, just make something else at that point.
Yeah, I know, it is sort of a thing. I forgot Casper Van Dien played Johnny Cage in that. No one needs that in their life.
Talk about just a guy.
Boy, I mean, one of the single dullest actors in the history of cinema. I hate. He's a great looking dude. What a chin. But my God.
But there's just nothing there.
Well, the best use of him is in Starship Troopers, where he's just a lunkhead. He's supposed to be that. Like, Verhoeven wanted a bad actor.
Michael Ironsides next to him on screen.
Right, no, it really helps because, like, Neil Patrick Harris is doing a fucking ton in that movie. He's amazing.
Baby Busey is.
Jake Busey
is doing Jake. I'm like, I never remember that dude's name. He's just Baby Busey.
Jake
forever.
Busey, yeah. The thing is, you have the total charisma sucks that are him and Denise Richards, and then they surround them with a bunch of good actors. That was key to that. Anyway, we also will be doing a Starship Troopers season, folks. Don't worry, that will happen down the line. Yeah, I think Gorgone's gonna have to join us for that one.
That's such a bad run of movies, John.
Hey, there's a new one in development though.
It's the first one and nothing else.
It's a disaster, yeah. And you get
you include the CG ones?
Oh, you have to.
Oh, I was gonna say, hey, there's 11 Hellraiser movies, so don't sit over there.
Yeah, there's like 5 Starship Troopers, even including the CG ones.
But like, it's an arbitrary rule that, like, okay, in that one we can do the cartoon, but in this season we can't, or else we'd be here forever with like animated Resident Evil.
There are at least 3 of these Mortal Kombat animated things. Yeah, there's.
I mean, we'd have to watch The Journey Begins, and I don't want to do that.
Was there
Spirits Within?
Was there?
Woof.
There was an animated series of this, wasn't there?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I was gonna say I seem to remember that.
And there was also a live action series.
What was that?
It was like 10 episodes.
Oh,
10
episodes.
Yeah.
No, that's the animated series still. Conquest.
Conquest, yeah.
Oh wow, yeah, 22 episodes they made of that thing.
There was 22 episodes of that. Oh, geez.
Yeah, it was one of those syndicated shows.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I have not seen that at
I've
all.
never seen that either. I don't know how I missed that.
It's not very good.
It's not very good.
No, I didn't think I was missing much on that.
Oh yeah.
Let's be talking about. I do think this movie. I do really like the vibe of this movie. I do think it kind of fizzles out in maybe the last third. Once Sonya gets taken.
Yeah.
Some of the fighting's still good, but.
Yeah, but it seems like, I don't know. I think that this, I think it may have almost been, well, I guess it is an hour 40, but at times it feels like it's almost too efficient, but I think it just generally maybe has a pacing issue.
Yeah.
Well, there's like a first act, then all the stuff happens, and like that's the movie.
And that's just sort of it.
Well, I think that's the thing of the biggest thing I said I think was missing to me is this progression where that would have been like the fighting tournament. If you had a clear idea about this is happening, then this, and it's leading to this. Instead, it's just this vague thing of, we must stop them from taking over the world. But you don't really get much of a sense of... You have the general lines drawn of, like, these are the good guys, these are the bad guys. And if the bad guys win, but you're almost like, win what? You're just sort of randomly fighting in places.
Well, and it's super unclear, especially in like the first half of the movie, who's on what side. Like, obviously, we've got Kano, Goro, and Shang Tsung as bad guy trio.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kano gets neck snapped at minute 42. Goro just has to sit around until Shang Tsung can tell him to go get him.
Yeah.
And
Johnny Cage can kick him in the balls and then ultimately kick him off of
push him off a
which
cliff.
is such a disappointing like end to that fight, right? Like, you want Johnny Cage, who has just defeated Scorpion, the like most iconic bad guy in Mortal Kombat,
in a pretty bitchin' fight scene.
Yeah. No, and I said that's the problem is that's the best part of the movie, and that's like halfway through, and then you're like, oh,
and then he just
the other fights
throws Goro off the cliff.
Yeah. The other thing about the Scorpion and Sub-Zero,
Toro, who doesn't show up until Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
the other thing that's a real bummer is when you get the Sub-Zero and Scorpion, you get the Shang Tsung thing just going like, they were the greatest of enemies, but now they both work for me. You're just like, oh, well, you don't get to see them fight then.
Yeah, and look, they really, at this point in the Mortal Kombat franchise, we hadn't gone like full into the like depths of the insanity of their backstory.
Well, you only
like,
have a 25-page booklet, Gorgone. I mean, you can only fill so much time.
But like, I will say, by the time we get to Annihilation, they do start filling in the like, well, okay, now we're going to introduce Bai-Han, the younger brother of Sub-Zero.
Right.
Like, start getting into like the weird dynastic crap there.
By the way, Sub-Zero kind of goes out in a lame way in this.
Oh, he goes out like a punk in this film.
Yeah, it's a real bummer.
And it doesn't make any sense because it looks like Liu Kang is like, oh, the element that brings life, water. I'm gonna throw this bucket at him that had water in it, and then randomly there's an icicle knife, and it's whack.
The water halfway through the throw just decides to turn into the shape of an icicle.
Yeah.
That impales him.
It's as necessary, right?
And then, like, Raiden's there to go, I left that bucket.
Sorry.
I could never
that
tell
sorry is so fucking funny.
Sorry. If that's like, was that scripted or is that every time? Is that
Gorgone, assume nothing is scripted. Assume nothing is scripted. Based on what I've read about this, they had nothing on the page beyond these people need to fight. And I think that's part of the problem with there's so many enjoyable elements, but it as a film narrative, they're missing that through line. They're missing the sense of what are we building to. So instead, the movie is just made of like, that part was cool, that part was cool, this was awesome, and then at the end you're kind of like, oh, okay. And then the movie doesn't end, of course, because it's setting up a sequel.
Right. One of my favorite, like, oh, that just happened moments is when they're finally in Outland. They're going after Sonya. They're trekking through this, like, desolate, I don't know, city that's, like, post-apocalyptic.
Sure.
And there are these weird crucified statues things.
I hate it.
And then one of those crucified statue things just eats Reptile and becomes a ninja for no goddamn reason.
That was one of the fights that got added in after the fact. So originally it was just that Liu Kang finds Reptile, throws him in the thing, and the statue just eats him, and that's it.
Yeah.
And because people wanted to see more fights, then it was like, okay, now he's gonna turn into the ninja, and then he's gonna fight Liu Kang, and then go back to being a broken statue, and I guess Liu Kang will squish him.
Yeah.
Sure. And like, look, we're at a point in the Mortal Kombat franchise where we just have the 3 palette swap ninjas, and everyone's like, they're kind of all the same guy.
Yeah.
I realize they're not. Look, I know about the deep lore behind Reptile and the Zaterra exodus from Earth that resulted in the invasion by
this is what I'm talking about. Is like
from Outland.
That's the thing about this movie, though, right?
Outland is a Warcraft thing.
Is like is it Outworld? Is that what this is?
Outworld.
Outworld,
yes.
yeah. totally different than Outland.
Totally different.
So different.
Absolutely different.
The thing about this, though, like I said, it's
apocalyptic landscape.
This is what I'm talking about when it's like we are making a movie based on a sketch of this thing that so many more games and comics and animated stuff will fill in later. So but it is. I get the challenge of trying to write this movie, and like, can we talk about the fact that they excised an entire Liu Kang Katana romance because who could possibly give a shit?
Yeah,
That's a good call.
time.
No, that's it. They were just like, where would this fit in?
And like, it's weird because they're arm in arm at the end of the movie as
Yeah.
the way has occurred.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, okay. I mean,
You know.
I do love that talk about having to add that reptile Liu Kang fight that was shot in an airport hangar because they're just like, we gotta fit this in here.
Gotta do something.
So
We gotta
here-
do something.
It wouldn't surprise me to learn that the Johnny Cage Scorpion fight was the same thing because it is.
It
literally
was. No,
inserted-
it 100%
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
for sure.
No, they
So-
were just like, we need
originally-
more fights.
But if that wasn't in the movie, then what happens to Scorpion?
No, so literally, the scene would have ended with Johnny Cage just like knocking him out with that last kick that
with the
pushed him
shadow
into
kick.
the portal. Yeah, with the shadow
Okay.
kick. Yeah.
Yeah. I just love the idea of they showed this to a bunch of people and the folks who was just like, hey, whoa, not nearly enough fighting. What do you...
I know.
What was in the movie? I mean, it's
Not
Mortal
enough.
Kombat.
Not enough fighting.
Should be like 80% fighting. I don't know how much you're doing.
And,
Well, okay, you take out those two fights though, and then suddenly the only fights we really get that are like of any satisfying length are, I mean, the first Liu Kang fight with the other guy with the staves is kind of lame, and it
Yeah.
ends with Shang Tsung killing the guy.
Yep.
We have the
Your
Liu
soul
Kang
is
katana fight,
mine.
which again goes nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
We
the
have
Liu
the fight
Kang
with all
Sub-Zero.
Liu Kang Sub-Zero fight, kind of lame. We have the fight with all the goons in the the dinner hall, but with which that's probably the most enjoyable fight for me because it's like our three main characters getting to tag team and fight guys together, which just doesn't happen in the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Right.
And it also is a good like kind of character moment for them in terms of like because their fighting styles are all fairly different, and so it's interesting to see all of them fight at once and see how differently they do it.
Right.
Johnny Cage, so many roundhouses.
So many because he's style over substance. Liu Kang is very controlled because he's like trained from birth at a martial arts monastery, and Sonya's just there to kill.
Interesting thing I just realized about just
One
looking.
of her finishers in the game is pulling out a gun and shooting people.
Yeah.
I did think it was really funny actually when they were on the boat and she pulled a gun on someone. It was just like, oh, so I guess we didn't check
just-
anyone for weapons on the whatever. Okay.
John, it's
On the
Mortal
magic
Kombat.
boat?
Yeah.
Come on.
Wasn't there eventually a character who was just like a cop with a baton?
That's
Yeah, that's Stryker.
Striker, that's
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Because Mortal Kombat 3 is actually like the weird divisive one in the franchise when it became more Americanized and like everyone was an urban character in gritty streets of America
Yeah.
and all the music is hip hop. And everyone was like, what the fuck is this? Where because like Johnny Cage and like Sonya weren't even characters in the third one. And like I don't think even Scorpion was originally a character in the third one. And they like really leaned away from the fantasy elements in ways. And everyone was like, oh, this is terrible. So they released Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, which added all that stuff back in.
Well, because that's the flavor. Otherwise, it's just
Otherwise, what are we
martial
doing?
arts, whatever. I mean, like that's the thing.
Stryker was always my dad's main, so that tells you everything you need to know about.
Yeah, that does. Yeah, but
Stryker was like what if Johnny Cage was a dork and a cop?
Yeah.
kids will love that.
No, just dads.
Yeah. Finally, a character for me. Somebody who's enforcing the rules. Yeah. No, it's. I'm trying
3
to.
did also add Nightwolf.
Ooh.
Nightwolf. Oh boy.
Oh, we'll talk about Nightwolf when we get to Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Oh yeah, we will.
That's my
Nightwolf.
animality.
Nightwolf. Yeah, I just love the idea of they had to release a version called Ultimate to be like, sorry.
Well, because let's see. The original lineup for 3 did not include Scorpion. It did include Sub-Zero and Sonya. Okay,
Does
but Johnny
anyone like
Cage wasn't
Scorpion?
in it?
Yes, they like Scorpion a lot.
Reptile wasn't originally in there, but again, Reptile was like a weird. And originally, Reptile was just a fusion of Sub-Zero and Scorpion.
They did introduce animalities though in 3.
Oh yeah, no, that's why they're in Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
I know, that's the thing though that gets me for being like much more grounded. It's also the part where they turn into animals.
Yeah.
Weird game.
Look,
weird
it's
game
still a video
series.
game, John. I don't know what to tell you.
But I was gonna say the thing about it was, and one of the reasons I always liked Mortal Kombat, and not that Street Fighter doesn't have wild things in it as well, but I always thought Mortal Kombat was the comic bookier of the two.
Well, and see, I was always a Tekken guy, so. Like...
Oh, you were one of these guys. Guess what movie you have to do now, though, Gorgone?
Oh no! See, no.
Oh, beans.
No, I refuse. I put my foot down on this one. That movie is fucking garbage.
You will not do the Tekken movie. That feels like Michael Listman territory to me.
No, if I had to pick a fighting game,
If he's gonna try to put Monster Hunter on me, I'll put Tekken on him.
If there's a fighting game I actually devoted any amount of time to,
yeah,
Soul Calibur. But
oh sure, I was
and
not.
That's like the high fantasy one.
Gorgone, and I brought this up on or because we're recording these out of order. I'm sure I will also ask this on the Street Fighter episode that already aired. Our local pizza place. What was the one they had at Round Table? They had
Tekken 2, 100%.
It was Tekken 2. Okay, I just remember there was a fighting game cabinet, but I could not remember for the life of me what it was. Okay.
100%. It was Tekken 2. And
I was gonna say
it
did seem like it wasn't Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, so that makes a lot of sense to me now. The big thing about this is I always really liked the aesthetic of particularly Mortal Kombat. But I was always kind of bored by fighting games. Like I would play a couple fights and be like, yeah, that's enough.
Yeah,
for me personally.
I liked because we would rent Armageddon from the local Hollywood Video before we couldn't go back because we had too many late fees.
Oh man.
Of course. And then we started renting from GameFly. I remember GameFly.
Oh yeah,
the Netflix of video games.
Yeah. Oh man.
But Armageddon was the one we would get all the time. We would just keep renting it. And I didn't have a lot of time to devote to video games, so because I was, in school, and so my brother, who is much younger than me and was not in school, would get so good. And got so good at Mortal Kombat that it wasn't fun to play against him because I wasn't as good at the game, and I didn't want my 4 or 5-year-old brother beating me at Mortal Kombat.
Here's the
fighting games in particular are an interesting subdivision of competitive video games, right? Because opposed to a shooter, there is a skills. Not that there isn't skill to shooting games, but in fighting games specifically, there is a certain amount.
It's about knowing this and this combo.
And there is a hard skill limiter on fighting games, and after you reach a certain threshold, anyone below that threshold in terms of skill is basically you're never going to have a problem beating them because there are certain intrinsic mechanical things about the game that they do not comprehend that you do. And that is true for basically any fighting game of a certain pedigree.
And like you bring up,
Street Fighters or your Tekkens.
Like you bring up, Elliot, it really is about time commitment to it as well, right? And that's the thing is, eventually I just got bored with them. Even if I've enjoyed the fighting for a while, it's just like, I'm not going to put this in because I'm invested in other kinds. No surprise, my fighting game as a kid was Justice League Task Force. No one's shocked. No. In the same way that really the only
was Primal Rage, the one with the giant monsters.
There you go. Right? Yeah, we're all just going back to what they think. We're all on brand. And then subsequently, I have played some of the Mortal Kombats, and of course, I played the Injustice games, obviously for the same reason.
And my mains were Melina and the vampire lady, who I was very excited to see in the new movie. Even though she died very quickly. What was her name?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I'm just going to look at the character list from Mortal Kombat. What would you say? Armageddon?
Yeah, Armageddon.
Let's see. Reiko?
No.
Serena.
Serena.
Okay, I'm so glad it was the second
Serena,
one. If we didn't get it on the second one, I'm like, the rest of the show cannot be Gorgone reading character names from Mortal Kombat and going, no, that's not it.
So
two
the
evil,
creepy
sexy
mouth.
ladies in the list, and that was it.
And
Yeah.
again, right? Nobody's
Yeah.
surprised.
No, this is ever on brand.
Well, actually, the other evil, sexy lady was Shiva, of course, but that's a
Well, of
different
course,
kind.
That's a
We stay in
different.
a giant muscle mommy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Is there any other part of this movie
We're
we
talking about
didn't?
getting our neck snapped by people's knives.
I gotta. Is there any other part of this movie we haven't talked about? I'm trying to think.
I mean the final fight, which
Yeah.
is like
It's once
fine
again.
until it's like Liu Kang having an emotional moment with his brother, who he knows is not his brother, and forgets like 4 seconds into the conversation.
Yeah. By the way, his brother played by Stephen Ho, who I know primarily from his frequent appearances on Conan's late night show, where he would come on to do martial arts demonstrations with Conan. Look up those clips if you haven't seen them, everybody. They're hilarious.
If you want to see Conan O'Brien get punched or kicked, like that's the place to do it.
Okay.
It's very funny. I mean, because he's obviously extremely good, and just of course their physical builds fighting each other is pretty funny. Anyway, he's an excellent stunt coordinator on a bunch of stuff. I should also mention the fight choreographer of this movie, very interesting we were talking about, is the same person who choreographed the fights for the first Ninja Turtles movie.
Oh, I did not know
They
that.
have the same fight choreographer. So, and like I said,
I think the Liu Kang Shang Tsung fight's not bad when they're actually fighting.
When they're actually fighting,
yeah.
it's the best actual martial arts in the movie, because they are the only two guys who had martial arts training before this. And so it's actually like when it's the longest, when it's just a long take of them trading blows, I'm like, holy shit, it's two guys who know what they're doing in this movie. I can't believe what I'm looking at, because everything else is so chopped up, and like, we'll teach Lyndon Ashby these 4 moves, then these 4 moves. And I love where he's like, well, I had some martial arts training. Like, dude, the karate class you took at 12 does not count as some martial arts training. I dabbled in the martial arts, you know.
Yeah. Again, like, Sonya doesn't get another good fight after Kano, so like
she's a damsel in distress now.
The fact that Katana doesn't even get her own solo fight until Annihilation.
Raiden doesn't fight
really
anybody.
Disappointing.
We never
Raiden
get a.
Also, look, Lambert was never going to be trading punches.
I don't think so.
He's got lightning powers. He's good.
Yeah, I know. My fighting days are over. Yeah.
Unless he's got a broadsword and a kilt, he's no good to anybody.
Yeah. No, he did his fighting movies, and he's now segued into this. I want to talk about the promotional material of this movie, of course. I gotta say, the poster, this was another movie, I think all of these we've talked about were movies I have a lot of nostalgia for seeing on the backs of comic books, because they would just do these ads that were a full movie poster was the back of a comic book. And every one of these video game movies, that was, of course, the case. Because sometimes it was also just the video games. You know, Mortal Kombat 2 would just be on there, whatever. But
the last credit in this movie is go play Mortal Kombat 3 now in arcade.
Well, because we got to talk about the soundtrack, too. Like, this movie really, more than any of them, did hit the multimedia press that we now associate with, like, every movie that comes out, but was somewhat new at the time. But anyway, the poster for this movie of just the very realized Mortal Kombat logo, the very real world, tactile, like stone Mortal Kombat logo, was pretty cool, where it is just like...
Very cool.
We keep talking about this because so much of the promotion for these movies were like, this isn't a fucking game anymore. It's real.
The tagline on this Mortal Kombat poster is literally, nothing in this world has prepared you for this.
I mean, I gotta say, that is... That's a big promise movie.
New Line Cinema presents.
Yeah. Proudly presents a Paul W.S. Anderson film. Yeah.
In a few years, we'll be putting out Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Yeah.
Well, from there.
Yeah. There was also, the other taglines they had were, choose your destiny and test your might.
I mean, test your might's very good. Because
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that brings us, I think, to the
the soundtrack
of it all.
Well,
because Test Your Might is featured in that.
Just you might.
Yeah,
I think this. I don't know that I've ever seen a movie, and I was telling you this earlier, Gorgone. I don't think I've ever seen a movie that before there's even like the very inkling of the New Line logo, you get Mortal Kombat. I mean, this thing announces itself, and I'm sure, at screenings with full of high schoolers and stuff, people just freak the fuck out.
Man, I would kind of love to go to a revival screening of this film. That would be like a wild audience.
The people, some real enthusiasm for this. This is kind of a movie to watch in that setting. I think this movie goes up a full letter grade just by the enthusiasm around it, right?
Environment alone.
Yeah.
And I think it goes up like another half grade if you're in a situation where you can buy alcohol.
Sure, because I think like me watching this in the middle of the day by myself, really paying attention to it, I'm like, this movie doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, when you can really focus on.
But if I'm sipping a beer and eating a sandwich and occasionally turning back to this,
and people are applauding and cheering and laughing, and then it's a blast. I mean, here's the thing. Oh, sorry. Back to the soundtrack though. Beyond just the Mortal Kombat, which this movie can't stop. This movie does not hold back on that.
That is,
would you?
The track is called Techno Syndrome (parentheses Mortal Kombat)
by
the Immortals.
I will say, like I said, I think the thing
that particular remix actually predates this movie.
Does it?
Yes.
Oh.
So there was a Mortal Kombat soundtrack released the year
of the game
before the movie.
Yeah.
From the games, and which was done by a band called the Immortals, which basically known for Mortal Kombat the album 1994. And that particular soundtrack had a lot of this EDM kind of hard thumping house techno music that this movie eventually landed on as a soundtrack, but wasn't as I don't know. This was not the mainstream of popular soundtrack music at the time. This was what are the kids listening to? Is this weird electro beatbox and stuff?
It weirdly works really well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's why the soundtrack for this movie in particular was the first techno EDM soundtrack to go platinum.
It went platinum. It reached number 10 on the Billboard 200. Another thing that came out of that test screening was they had temp scored it, as every movie does, with orchestral scores from action movies, and people fucking hated it. No.
Yeah, it wouldn't have worked.
No, it's
too serious.
That's the biggest thing this movie has in its favor.
Some GZR or some Gravity Kills or Orbital or George S. Clinton featuring Buckethead for some reason.
I was gonna say you got me right before I was gonna bring up that there is also additional guitar work by Buckethead.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. No, the thing, the biggest positive I can say about this movie, because this is not a good film, but my God, it so leans into the spirit of Mortal Kombat. It doesn't work as a narrative at all.
And as we all know, the spirit of Mortal Kombat is not death, but life.
This is true.
Mortals fighting for their world.
Yeah, and okay, so then that leads us into our last slide. This movie was pretty successful.
I was looking for a budget on this thing, and I couldn't find one. Were you successful in this adventure, John?
I have it at 20. I have it at 20 million.
The budget? I mean, look, and that wouldn't surprise me, even if it was that without any kind of further advertising, because the thing you can say about a game based on a video or a movie based on a video game is the video game's sort of doing the advertising for you a little bit.
I have 18 to 20 million is what I've seen. I see 18 on IMDb, and Wikipedia tells me 20, so
that
somewhere
seems
in there.
low to me, just because
but that's 1990. But that's 1995 though. That's like a mid-budget movie. Now that'd be a low-budget movie, but back then that's
they were probably saving on actors.
Well, and the other thing is you got to keep in mind this is New Line, who is a studio, but they're not Warner Brothers, Fox, or Paramount.
That
that
makes
was
sense why Journey Begins looks like such dog shit, because they didn't have enough money left over for it.
Yeah. But it ultimately topped out at 122 million worldwide.
Ooh.
So I mean, big old hit. And critical reception was not awful.
Oh. You talked about Journey Begins. Do you know who played Sonya Blade in Journey Begins?
I do. It was Jennifer Hale.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Speaking to the other Punch Up Entertainment show that we do on the YouTube page, Punch Up Plays, where Ellie and I are playing through the Mass Effect franchise, we're hearing a lot of Jennifer Hale in
A lot of Jennifer Hale.
Well, I mean, if you watch anything that requires voice work, odds are you will run into her.
The statistically speaking, you might.
Yeah.
She is one of the biggest names, of course, in that. Much like your Frank Welkers or Kevin Michael Richardson, she's definitely in that camp. I'm actually surprised, though. A lot of the reviews were like, I don't know. I mean, like, there seemed to be a lot of, like, I don't know what to do with this movie. You know, like,
that's not unfair.
Yeah, there is sort of this thing about, like, I mean, I don't know what this is. I think it's doing what it is reasonably well. Like, seems to be a lot of the reaction.
It's 1995. Everyone's still shell-shocked from fucking Schindler's List, so they're just like, I guess this is also a movie.
Well, and there's sort of this thing about, like, well, it's better than the last two we fucking hated, so, you know, I have a, as always, I want to check in.
Is this a better movie than Super Mario Brothers and Street
Fighter? Oh, Jesus, I don't know. I will say it's for sure a better adaptation of its source material. No question.
Sure.
I don't know that it's a better movie.
I think that Mario Brothers might be a more coherent story.
I think it is, which is insane.
Which is a wild thing to think and say.
The only thing about it is, the difference is this movie doesn't care.
Yeah.
Right? That's the thing. It's like, I do think this is, I will say, it is probably the most
There's
successful.
a gleeful freedom in that, though, right?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's like,
this movie is very vibe heavy.
I
think that it's...
I have more goodwill towards this movie than either of the other ones. Even though I think it is maybe objectively the worst film narrative of the bunch. And I'm not those are not good movies, the other ones. But I think it's time to, as always, I love to check in, if it's possible, with who I consider the greatest film critic, Roger Ebert. And this is
who sat through this film.
Imagining
Roger Ebert watching Mortal Kombat is
so
good.
what I'm gonna play for you now, because if I can find audio clips, I'm doing this now. I will try to do this from. I was addicted as a kid to Siskel and Ebert. So much of my film nerdery comes from an obsessive childhood of watching these, and still do. It's like one of my comfort things is on YouTube, watching old episodes of them. So what I have here is from the 1995 episode of Siskel and Ebert at the movies. And Siskel has just finished playing the clips and describing his reaction. So this is when we're going to switch over to Roger, is where I'm coming in on this. And Siskel has just said, Siskel has just said,
give us a Siskel take.
Here, Siskel has just said, this is a low bar, but this is the best video game movie I've ever seen. And has just finished saying, I've never played this game, but after watching this movie, I kind of want to. That is where Gene is.
Hey,
Gene
they succeeded.
Gene is thumbs up. So Gene is thumbs up. Over to Roger. Here we go.
I can't really give a thumbs up, although I'm right in the middle on it. One thing.
Weren't you surprised by the quality?
The one thing that bothered me was it was so dark. I wonder if the theater was trying to save money on electricity.
I saw it in the best theater screen in Chicago.
Oh, well, then I didn't see it in that theater, because I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it looked murky.
Well, it
just didn't
then
look
blame
bright.
the theater, don't punish the film.
Okay, well, I can only review the film I saw, but I'll tell you one thing that was funny. As I was coming out, the kids who play this Mortal Kombat game, which you know has been very controversial because of its level of violence, were kind of disappointed that the killings in the movie weren't nearly as sensational as the ones in the game, where people have unbelievably horrible things happen.
I'm terribly sorry for those children.
You would have been amazed, since you felt the movie was too violent.
The movie, I thought it was fun. You had a better time, admit it, you had a better time than you thought you were going to have in this picture.
Well, since I thought I was going to have a very bad time, that would be true almost no matter what I thought.
There you go. Roger Ebert being bullied into begrudgingly saying, I guess it was better than I thought it was going to be.
Amazing. Amazing.
I miss those men so much because those arguments were the best. Just there. Come on, Roger. You admit it. You had fun. Yeah.
Never.
Yeah. But of course, they did lean into a lot of pearl clutching. Think about the children. So you do have Roger going like, I heard children be upset it wasn't more violent. And, well, that's terrible, Roger, but that's neither here nor there. So as I said, this ultimately topped out at 122 million. As always, I have the 1995 top 200 grossing movies of the year. And I'd like you to take your best guess as to what this ranked.
As always, I would like to ask for a little bit of context. What's our number one for 19?
Very interesting you said this. I did not know this before the conversation we had. The number one movie is David Fincher's Seven.
Okay.
Which made 300. Can you believe this? 327 million. Can you imagine? That is so crazy to me today to think that a movie like Seven would be the highest grossing movie of the year.
Yeah.
That would never happen now. Never.
Like
an R-rated, aimed at adults serial killer thriller made more than anything else. By like a lot.
Okay.
Like number 2 is Toy Story, and that was 244.
Wow.
Yeah.
I definitely think this broke into the top 100.
It for sure is.
Yes, I
want to say it broke into the top 50. Now I'm debating whether or not it broke 25. Like I'm quartering this down.
So I'm gonna put it at 20. That's where my gut was.
Elliott's
going.
at 20.
20.
We're gonna Price This Right. This am I going 19?
There's no prize, Mike.
Prize is pride.
What I love is how Gorgone takes this more seriously than anybody who does this show.
I know. Well, part of that. Yeah. Anyway, I want to say 27.
Ooh. Based on Price is Right rules, Elliott wins at 23.
Ooh. Okay.
Closest without going over. 20. It came in 23rd.
Boom.
Pretty good. I mean, like
Pretty good.
Yeah. And of course, your top 5 were once again Seven, Toy Story, Apollo 13, Batman Forever, and Pocahontas.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I mean, a weird time. Whenever I go back to these, I'm like, right, it used to be like a huge amount of variants of movies made money. Because now it's just like
Avatar, superhero.
Yeah, it is like franchise, superhero movie. Yeah.
Whatever Christopher Nolan made.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it used to be like a rom-com, a thriller, a medium-budget action movie, and an animated picture. Those I guess still do well. Toy Story would still be like huge. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Interesting though. Just like also, how many of these movies were like made for adults? Like in your top 10, you have things like Crimson Tide.
I mean, Seven.
Number one movie. Number one movie in the world. That movie was massive. It's crazy to think about because now people be like, oh, it's just so dark.
Right.
And now it'll be on Netflix. I mean, Fincher only makes movies for Netflix now. That's the world we live in. It's crazy because they'll let him do whatever the fuck he wants.
Does it have Deadpool and or Wolverine in it? Then we don't want theaters.
Fincher did flirt with the idea of doing a Wolverine movie for a while, which would have been interesting.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I mean,
he also
I can see it, but
he was also the guy who
wanted.
He was also the guy who pitched the death of Gwen Stacy for the first Spider-Man movie because I want to start with him at his lowest.
I want to start with him accidentally killing his girlfriend.
Yeah, that's where I want to begin. That's how the movie opens.
See where it goes.
Yeah. And then they're like, well, we don't want that. He's like, then I don't want to be here. My favorite, this is not a Fincher podcast.
Losers.
I think I might have told this on the Alien 3. He was the first person offered episode 7 of Star Wars. And he was like,
God,
great.
I want to see that movie.
But he's like, great, I'm in. I get final cut, right? And they're like, no. He's like, then bye.
Yeah, absolutely. Why do you keep calling me?
Yeah. I believe you know. I would. Anyway, let's look at some highs and lows to wrap this up here. From the nut jobs that write. I just do not understand the impulse.
Contentious relationship with
I just don't understand the impulse. I just don't understand the impulse to write reviews on IMDb. I'm sorry, I don't get it.
No one
Yeah,
was
we'll
reading
use them
them
for
except
content.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Here, this comes to us from Ivo Cobra 8, obviously, who describes the title of this review: underrated, excellent martial arts sci-fi flick based on video game, my favorite flick. That's the title.
Sci-fi.
Yeah,
Kano does have that robot eye.
I think that's as much science fiction as in this. I'd say we're firmly in fantasy territory.
Yeah, it's like the
So many
argument
powers.
about, is Star Wars really sci-fi or is it space fantasy? kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think we know where we land on that. Yeah. Anyway,
Hard science fiction.
the hardest, man. Yeah. Anyway, Mortal Kombat is my favorite martial arts science fiction action classic flick based on a video game that I have grown up with. Boy,
If that sentence, that sentence is structured in a way that makes it seem like, oh, so there's just not a lot of movies that fall into that category.
Yeah,
But I think
pretty
they
fucking
mean,
easy.
This is my favorite thing, based on a comic book or a video game I love.
yeah, it's like when studios love to talk about now. It's the highest grossing movie ever to open on a Thursday in July. You know, like okay. Anyway,
Sure.
I grew up playing Mortal Kombat 2. I played in a hospital with my friends. They don't go further into that, but I'm curious about that. I heard about the Street Fighter movie that had Jean-Claude Van Damme in it, and that time I thought that movie is at that time I thought that was one of the best Van Damme movies that had just come out recently in the 90s. But boy, was I wrong. Street Fighter sucks ass. Jean-Claude Van Damme sucked ass in Street Fighter. Sorry. Mortal Kombat is the opposite of that film. I love this film to death, and it is my favorite Paul W.S. Anderson film that he ever directed. In my honest opinion, I think this is the best video game movie ever made, and that was before that was before the Resident Evil movies were made. So many caveats in this review.
Yeah.
I love this movie to death. It's a classic, my favorite childhood movie of all time. Too bad it got a sequel in 1997 that ruined this movie. This is, in my opinion, a classic sci-fi underrated martial arts flick that I love so damn much. He talks about the plot, blah blah blah. Who cares? In this movie we have
going. Okay.
yeah. In this movie we have a beautiful cast, and then he lists Christopher Lambert from Highlander and blah 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 blah. Tagawa is the bad guy. Every time I watch a movie from the 90s, I see this guy has been the bad guy. He was a perfect choice for playing the bad guy sorcerer who killed Liu Kang's brother. I absolutely love this movie. Love the fight choreography. It has a beautiful ending, a beautiful song to the movie. I love the fight scenes with Johnny Cage and Scorpion. It is one of the best in the movie. The fight scene between Liu Kang and Reptile is perfect. This is a long one, so that's why I'm skipping through. Johnny Cage is my favorite character of all time. Lyndon Ashby was so great and excellent as Johnny Cage. I wish he could play more roles like he did in this movie. I really love this movie, an underrated 90s classic. Really enjoy it. Fun flick to grow up on. Overall, I own this movie on Blu-ray. I absolutely love this movie. I used to have it on VHS. Anyway, 10 out of 10 score. Badass seal of approval.
I'm very curious
So,
about one thing here, John.
Do we
Yeah.
think that the hospital had an arcade,
Yeah.
or that he was playing it on a
Ooh,
console
interesting
in a
question.
room, like where he was in the hospital?
Interesting question.
Because my assumption is that there is some kind of, so there's a charity that I like to support fairly regularly called Child's Play that donates games, usually board card games,
Yeah.
but also video games, to kids in hospital situations. Usually that is just there's some kind of playroom that exists in these
In
hospitals
like a children's
where
ward.
Yeah.
right, exactly.
Okay.
Or
okay.
is it this hospital has a
This very
kind of
cool
arcade?
hospital
Yeah.
has an
Yeah, I mean-
public arcade.
Actually, I mean, that you think about that, particularly in the 90s, having in the children's wing of a hospital, having arcade games would be an awesome decision. That would be really fucking cool.
Insane.
Yeah. I don't
But
know.
that's the only thing I cared to think about from that review. So what's the next one?
All right.
Well,
this comes.
I'm curious about the date of that
Oh.
previous review.
Oh. Let me go back.
Because he says the best video game adaptation ever, and that I just
Before
would
they
like to
made
know
Resident Evil movies, was
as
the
of
caveat
what?
there.
Well, post Resident Evil, clearly.
Post Resident
So
Evil.
2004.
Let's see here. Now you make me go back. I'd already 2016.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That was
Come on.
We know what he thought of Gyllenhaal and Prince of Persia.
which at the time
Well-
I think we were like big I think that's as good as it's gonna get, you guys. We'll talk about that movie when we get to it, but we've mentioned this a few times on here that we left the theater going like, well, it wasn't dog shit, so was that the best one they've ever done? I don't know.
Video game adaptations.
Yeah, that looked all right.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's still very sad.
Yeah, it's deeply sad.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Alfred Molina raced ostriches, so it was fun.
yeah, I have. You know what? Have you watched it since? I've never seen it again
No.
since we saw it in the theater. So this will be only when we cover it on the show. It'll be the only second time I've seen it. Anyway, Jake Gyllenhaal is the Prince of Persia. It just makes me laugh. And I love Jake Gyllenhaal, but he's no Prince of Persia. Anyway, Gorgone, this guy might be speaking your language because his IMDb username is Deep Jedi.
How deep?
How deep do you want to go?
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, up to All right. Anyway, title of the review is gives an idea of where the film went wrong. I've just watched this film on TV because it was the most interesting thing on, and I fancied seeing something I hadn't seen before. It was rubbish. This is
He's
just
already missing a step. He should have recorded it first on VHS.
Yeah.
Come on, man. The TV quality's too good. You need that VHS dubbing of it that brings
Need the iteration.
If there aren't tracking lines coming up from the bottom, you ain't
are we
watching
even
Mortal
doing?
Kombat. What are you doing, folks? Anyway,
Missing a crucial. That's like aerating your wine. Like it's very crucial step.
yeah. This is
How to
just
dictate
another
Mortal
of those
Kombat.
martial arts movies that can only appeal to children and those who need to be told but still don't believe that WWF wrestling is fake. The kind of people who think that Steven Seagal is really one of the hardest men on the planet. These films are always full of fights that are choreographed by people who seem to never have seen a real fight or even a decent movie fight. The characters taking turns to execute their ridiculous moves. If this is your thing, then I envy you. It means you can get enjoyment from the worst of movies as well as the best. It is a huge mistake to make a film with such a violent premise as gladiatorial death matches for children. It can't be done! Exclamation point. Kids from 6 to 13 years old would have loved this film had the violence been trimmed to make it suitable for them, and yet as it stands, the adult viewer is disappointed with the lack of violence. Now get ready, because I think we're all going to disagree with this next part. Another problem was Christopher Lambert. He is quite a
get the
big
fuck outta
name.
here.
He is quite a big name and would have undoubtedly taken a serious chunk out of the budget. I think they would have been wiser to have hired another newcomer for the role of Raiden and kept the money they would have saved for better art direction and special effects. They had the script in their hands and must have known that it wouldn't make money on its own, so they gambled on star power to save them. What they forgot was that even Laurence Olivier can look awful with a bad script. They gambled and lost.
Okay, but if you had to put Laurence Olivier in Mortal Kombat,
Yeah.
because my first thought is to make him. Oh, what's the name of the death god that's like the final boss in those games?
Oh, yeah. I would. By the way, I would love to see Laurence Olivier take on that role. I'll keep reading while you look that up.
Anyway, keep going.
The film was
Oh,
obviously
Captain
short
Shao
of
Kahn.
money.
Who cares?
The film was obviously short of money. The sets were of television standard, and lighting has its limits on what it can do to hide this sort of thing. The effects were the same. A small effects house with an inexperienced team cannot hope to look as good as the likes of the masters at ILM. The acting was unremarkable, nothing that any soap opera actor couldn't have done. The female interest was lackluster and ordinary looking, with even Talisa Soto so poorly lit she looked bland. The plot was weak as wet tissue paper, and the fact that the movie was based on a video game is no excuse. It was so full of holes the cast could have fallen through them, and I wish they had. The soundtrack was a vulgar, synthesized effort that any music student still in university could have knocked up in his bedroom.
This is
Vulgar,
we have
synthesized effort.
we have like dove. We are diving
Yeah.
gradually into this person is like trying to be
Like some kind of like professor vibe.
Citizen Kane.
Oh, Wells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Orson Welles.
I do want to say vulgar synthetic, or what was it?
Vulgar synthesized effort.
That's the name of my new synth band.
Also, yeah. I gotta say though, I think he means knocked out in his bedroom, not knocked up in his bedroom. I think that's
No,
Nice.
you give birth to a score this magical.
Get ready for this last sentence. Still, as I said, it will appeal to some people. ... Because some people can get excited by monster trucks. 1 out of 10 stars.
You affected the Orson Welles there at the
Yes, some people can get can be excited by monster trucks. Curses.
Perfect.
Yeah. I should. Anyway. Oh, I've
Synthesized effort of
this
these
dull
poltroons.
synthesized effort. Is this man even? Was this even made by professionals? This man is not a professional. By the way, as always, and I've recommended this several times, just go look up Orson Welles commercial outtakes. You'll have a great time. Because just the amount of time he's like, "Why are you walking around? Get him out of here. This man is not a professional. He's ruining this entire shoot." And then he always goes back to like frozen peas, picked by the fire. Always back on, ever a pro. Right back to, I'm sorry. Hold on, this copy doesn't make any sense. You can't say that. Anyway, that's Mortal Kombat 1995. Those are differing opinions of it. Like I said, I think this is the most I've enjoyed a movie so far. Although I do have an affinity for the Street Fighter movie for different reasons. This I have an affinity for because of the spirit of the game that it carries. Whereas Street Fighter I have an affinity for because of the people involved in it and like just how insane it is, particularly the Raul Julia performance.
Street Fighter has higher peaks, I think.
Yes, it does. I think
this
this
is more of a like baseline, like, oh, we're having fun here the whole time.
Yeah, and until it kind of
agree,
dips
yeah.
at the end, I do wish that it's unfortunate that all the good stuff is like in the middle of this movie. But I enjoyed this, and also I'm hanging on to this now because I know what's coming next week. And Mike Gorgone, you and I will have to face this together. Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
2 years later,
Yeah.
something got out.
Yeah. Well, I will say,
and
and
I will be leaving you. I will fall to the ground
Yeah.
immediately dead like Johnny Cage.
when I was going through these, I'm like,
The movie opens with Johnny Cage just dying.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Get into it.
nobody likes that character. But I will say the tagline for it, Gorgone, is destroy all expectations.
Oh, I'm gonna.
Yeah, I remember talking to somebody, and I might say this again. I wish I could remember who. I remember talking to somebody about that movie, and I think they said the perfect thing, which is just like, I think I'm dumber for having watched it. I think that movie actually like cost me IQ points.
Look, if you want to watch a movie in which they basically replace the entire cast, no returning filmmakers or writers are in.
The funniest thing is that it begins at the exact moment this movie ends, but with almost an entirely new cast.
Almost, yeah.
It's
almost
so
none people.
I almost have nothing else to say positive about the movie, but still tune in next week. But that is
We'll be talking
fucking
James
hilarious.
Remar. We'll be talking Brian Thompson. There's things to dig out.
Well, that's a new podcast I'm working on, Gorgone, is talking Remar. Because I do fucking love Remar. I think I gotta say, a weird choice to take over for Lambert. Super weird choice. Totally different kind of actor.
What if this weird effervescent Puck-like character is replaced by Dexter's dad?
Yeah, a guy who I think of as being like really gritty and grounded in things. Yeah, Dexter. You got to wrap up that body. Anyway, if you want more from us, and why wouldn't you? Once again, you can head over to our patron page, patreon.com/punchup, and we're no longer, just because of the time it takes. We're not doing the specific IP Squad tie-in show anymore on there, at least not at the moment, because this show takes a lot to do as is. But you can hear the other franchise reaction show we do on there, The Last to Be Curious, where Brendan Jones is forced to sit through action movies he would never otherwise choose to watch on his own.
We do enjoy his pain.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. Anytime I can inflict more, I do.
I believe he has told me many a time, please, no more Gerard Butler movies. And I'm just like, too freaking bad.
And weirdly enough, that started with Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah. Please, for the love of God, no more Gerard Butler. Well, he keeps making them.
Until we get to our Les Mis remakes section.
Oh, well, that's that. Then you got your Russell Crowes.
Oh, you're Russell Crowe. Sorry, I was confusing my English bellowers.
It's easy to do.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So, but you can get over there and lots of fun stuff, including if you are into old horror stuff. We have a whole show about Vincent Price. We're doing a show right now about Peter Cushing over there. So check out all that stuff. Once again, that's patreon.com/punchup and punchupent. Of course, Gorgone, as I mentioned, you and Elliot can be seen on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@punchup. Is it punchup? What is it? You know,
at Punch-Up Entertainment, John.
At Punch-Up Entertainment.
While you're there, you can, of course, see Elliot and I over well, you can't see us, but you can hear our lovely voice over on Punch-Up Plays, as well as all the other shows on the Punch-Up Entertainment Network. And that includes, John, you and I over Panel Be With You, where you can actually see our beautiful faces as we discuss Star Wars comics that you can read along with us on the magic of visual media.
Oh, is it ever? What a magical thing.
I'm also on Material Components, our actual play tabletop RPG show. And basically just about any other show I can bully these guys into letting me on. So.
Elliot, frequent guest, of course, on Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters as well. And which, if you're following us, we're ever closing in on becoming Campbell and Jones Meet the Slashers, probably in the next year or so. And I have a feeling you'll have some thoughts on that too, Elliot.
Of course.
Yeah.
Please like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications every time.
Absolutely.
Punch Up Entertainment drop, because we're dropping stuff like hotcakes around.
I mean, Monday through Friday, there's new content every day on the YouTube channel, so you want to check that out. But that's going to do it. Until next week, the case file is closed.